few days, I've been reviewing films that were a bit of silliness. Today, I wanted to go back into, I guess, what I would consider more authentic horror. And I am reviewing There's Something Wrong with the Children, which was released June 17th, 2023. The director is Roxanne Benjamin, starring Alicia Wainwright, Amanda Crew, Carlos Santos, and Zach Gilford. There is indeed something wrong with the children. Something very, very, very wrong with the children. There's also a little something wrong with the film in that it has its three separate acts and they don't really connect. I loved the third act. It was complete chaos. It was unhinged. I appreciated the second act, but it didn't flow into the third one. So let me back up for a second. The story is about two different couples um, who are spending time in a cabin. The one couple, Thomas and Ellie, have two children, Lucy and Spencer. The other couple, Margot and Ben, are childless. And it's not really a bone of contention for them, but it's something that's brought up enough that you realize it is an issue for them about whether they really want children or not. So the act one is really these two couples and sort of the turmoil going on in the marriage of Ellie and Thomas. Ellie and Thomas had participated recently in a foursome that went wrong. It actually did not end up being a foursome. It ended up being a twosome while the other two really didn't hit it off. So this causes a rift in their marriage and causes some anger. So Margot and Ben volunteer to have Lucy and Spencer, to have the children, spend a night in their cabin so that Ellie and Thomas can work on their marriage. Fine, this all sounds great. The day before, they had been walking around in the woods and they had stumbled upon this old fort or something. We don't really know what it is, but it's this dilapidated old, building that's falling apart. They go inside to explore it, and there is a hole in the center, a big cavern, and the children are captivated by this cavern, and the adults are all like, get away from the edge, typical stuff. So after the slumber party, the next morning, Margot and Ben can't find the children, and they start to panic. And Ben goes back to the hole and sees the children standing there, and he sees them jump into the hole. But then minutes later, they're back in their parents' cabin. So that's act one. Then act two is Ben being the only one who knows something's wrong with the children. And this is a fun act, and I understand why they have it. It's good to see these children, because the children were sort of like off to the side in act one. And now they're coming more as full-fledged characters in act two, and it's fun to watch them toy with Ben. And it's also nice to see a male character being the one gaslighted instead of the female. We find out that Ben has had some psychotic episodes, and perhaps that's why he and Margot aren't invested in having children. And so the other adults are sort of playing off his, remarking what's going on with the children. They're like, oh, he's kind of, maybe this is, has he taken his medication, sort of a thing. So again, I like act two, but then act three, it really picks up and takes off because it becomes Margot's story. And Alicia Wainwright is really good. She's very, very good. So I really wish the story had been from her perspective from the beginning to the end. I understand why they shifted to Ben, but it just caused this continuity for me that I really would have liked it to be more her story, because when it picked up in act three as her story, it got really, really good. The children gave me anxiety. They really did. They freaked me out. They did their job. So I know out there in review land, this was not a popular film. It received a lot of negativity and some straight out hate. I didn't feel that way. I had a good time with it. I would have liked Act Three to kind of just become the film itself. I think then it would have been even cooler, but I didn't hate it. Historically, when I end my Halloween month of watching horror movies, I always watch The Addams Family Values as my October 31st film. That's not going to work this year because of my 2023 film stipulation. So instead, I thought I would have a sidebar dedicated to Addams Family Values. Now, I love both films. I love the Addams Family film and the Addams Family Values film. I love them both, but I always do the Addams Family Values just because it talk about a sequel just exceeding expectations. Let me be perfectly clear. Growing up, I wanted to be Morticia Addams. I still want to be Morticia Addams. That has never ended. And I studied Carolyn Jones like it was my job as a child. I really thought no one could compare to John Astin and Carolyn Jones. And then I saw Raul Julia and Angelica Houston, and they were amazing. They were superb. The passion between them was fantastic. Like they got it. They got the assignment. They understood what they're supposed to do, and they just took it to the next level. And it was just Raul Julia really understood the childlike excitement of Gomez, and just how attractive that is about him. That's what makes Gomez charismatic, is that he's always so eager and excited, and he's so sincere about everything, and he's sincere with his love of the family. And Angelica Houston just did an amazing Morticia. She was so good. And then we have the introduction of Debbie Jelinski in this film, played by Joan Cusack, which was absolute perfection. This movie never gets old for me. I am not a fan of any other Addams Family attempts. I'm one of the only people who does not like Wednesday. That series, I think it's horrible because it's not true to the source material. This movie really was spot on the Charles Addams New Yorker cartoons. It really, was very faithful to that source material. So it is fantastic. If somehow this has slipped by you, you have to watch it. One of my favorite films of all times.